What's up, everybody? Hey, it is Mike Widmer with the Expansion Real Estate Group. Happy Friday to you. Welcome to this month's edition of the Monthly Market Update. It is December. It's the last market update of the year, and 2024 has been a pretty interesting year. If you think back, man, we've been through a lot of stuff. We had interest rates go up to almost 8%. We had the lawsuit, right? All those changes that came in August. We had an election thrown in there. And we're going to end off this year potentially under 4 million sales, which is the lowest number of sales in the United States since 1995, which is a crazy stat because think of how many less homes there were in 1995. So just been a really interesting year. So I actually really love putting this video together for you guys. I love doing it. I don't ever mean to sound pessimistic or discouraging. I think those of you that know me the most and know me the best, like, I'm just going to shoot it straight to you, right? I'm going to shoot it just as it is, not going to sugarcoat it, and just kind of give you the facts and try to keep the feelings out of it. So this year, been a little tough sometimes, but we're moving through it, and I think we're going to end off this year and jump into 2025 and start an upward trend. I really do believe that. So let's jump into it and see what the stats have to say for December and how we're going to end the year. So here is our Trusted Cromford Market Index chart. For some reason, they haven't updated yet for December. I'm not quite sure why, but looking back at November, we started November at 90.3 on the index. And you remember when I did my video last in November, it was a few days into the month, and we had dropped below that 90-point threshold, which truly puts us into a buyer's market. We ended off November at 86.7, so a 3.6 point drop on the Cromford Market Index. And here's where that's interesting. So that put us below, that 86.7 is the lowest the Cromford Index has been since October of 2010. So for 14 years, this is the most advantage that buyers have had. So if we look all the way back here on this chart, it doesn't drop below that number until right here. October 2010, it was 85.4, right? So we're right at that threshold of buyers having an amazing amount of negotiation power. Right now, for houses under 800,000 in all of Maricopa or all of the RMLS here in Phoenix, over 50% of the sales have the sellers giving the buyers some sort of seller concessions to help with their closing costs, to buy their rate down. Homes are selling for under list price by about 2.5%. So just a really decent, a really good time for a negotiation buyer. Obviously, we know the rates are high and prices are kind of high, so affordability is not there. But as far as negotiating power, this is the best it's been for 15 years for buyers. So something to think about with that. If we look at where we are at today, and some good news is we are at 86.8. So it's actually a point higher than the month started. And when we look at our daily chart, this is what's really optimistic, right? Since September 1st here, we've been on this slow, gradual downturn on the Cromford Index. And right here at the beginning, right after Thanksgiving, it's kind of leveled out, which is really, really exciting because hopefully most years, as we kind of get past Christmas and New Year's, the market picks back up in January and is usually pretty strong until April and May. So hopefully we'll see this number jump back up after that. One of the causes for that kind of flattening out is, remember how high or how much inventory has been going up. This last month it actually dropped. So we ended last month at 16,681 single family homes on the market. Today we have 15,852. So that's a 5% drop in inventory. And at the same time, we've had an increase in demand. And demand is actually one of the really things that I'm kind of excited about too, is almost every single year we kind of bottom out in December. So like right here, end of December, like I talked about, the new year comes and the buyers come back out. End of December here, new year comes, and the buyers come back out. Here we bottomed out in September, and the market demand has been going up ever since then, right? We kind of talked about the rates coming down. We talked about the election being over. So I am very optimistic that we're going to continue to see that demand rise once we get into the new year. And we've always talked about, for years now, rates kind of driving it. Again, we peaked way back here in 2023 of October at just under 8%, and we kind of came down. We saw a nice drop here, which really picked up activity in this past August. We rose back up, but just this last few weeks, we've been starting to see a trickle down on the rate. So I think overall, we know that when it's below 7%, the buyers come back out. If we get anywhere around 6% or even see a 5% in there, we know the buyers are definitely ready to come back and get off the fence and start to buy. So I think all in all, very good news coming up for us in the future. Hit this right here. So I went to actually a live event for Cromford, who puts together all this data we look at, and I wrote down 4 things that were just interesting points that I thought. The first one was, I wonder if you can guess what the average age of a home buyer is. What's the average age across the board? 49 years old is the average age of a home buyer right now, which goes to show that the affordability has been very, very difficult for first-time home buyers, right? People coming out of college with some student loans, they're just not able to qualify for a home. So that's raised that average age up to 49 years old for the average home buyer. I thought that was pretty interesting. If you really think about it, it makes sense. But 40% of homes across the United States do not have a mortgage. They're owned free and clear. And that's for a couple of reasons, right? People haven't been moving, right? They've been paying down their mortgage. And we've had the institutional buyers buying up a lot of homes for cash. So, but 40% of homes, no mortgage whatsoever. Next one I thought was pretty interesting is half of all mortgages out there are under 4%, right? That's been a major reason why we haven't had a lot of activity. When I talked about at the beginning of the video, how we may end our total sales under 4 million for the first time since 95. That's because people that have these mortgages under 4% just have not been willing to list. They may want to move, they've chosen not to because they can't make it make financial sense. So if we can get these rates somewhere down around 5% or 5.5% this next year, I really do think we're going to see quite the upturn in activity. The gurus across the country have kind of range that we will see between a 5 and 10% appreciation next year. So that's exciting. Again, who knows if they know what they're talking about, but at least they're expecting an increase versus a decrease. So that's also optimistic for our market. And the last thing, this is just really interesting for home buyers. Every 1% that the rate drops saves you 10%. Again, it's not exact numbers, saves you 10% on your principal and interest on your mortgage. So when I looked at that chart before, when we got up around 8%, and now we're closer to 6.5%, that's a 15% decrease in payments on your principal and interest versus that. So if we can go from 6.5 down to 5.5, now we're another 10% lower. So that'll help bring our affordability back. Again, prices have stayed pretty constant this last year. We haven't seen a dip down. We haven't seen a big rise up. But overall, the rates have been what's affecting payments and activity. So as we come into this new year, hopefully rates drop, buyers activity comes up, and the market picks up, and everybody's happy. And there's nothing wrong with a balanced market, right? We love a balanced market. Sellers get close to what they're asking for. Buyers can afford homes, and they get the homes they want to choose from. And it's just overall, it's a good market. So I appreciate you guys. Again, thank you for watching these videos all year long and for the past however many years. Hope you guys have an amazing holiday. I am always here working through the holidays as well. So if you have any questions, and just let me know. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we'll see you next year.